Being an NBA player puts you in a privileged situation that usually comes with a lot of competitiveness, pressure, money, fame, and accordingly, ego. Players have different backgrounds and characters and do not always get along together, whether they are teammates or competitors. There have been many cases of players hating each other for different reasons, and sometimes that hatred has lasted for decades. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the cases where things turned ugly between players, and they didn't even try to hide it. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq and Kobe joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 1996, when Shaq was one of the best players in the league, and Kobe was an 18-year-old rookie. Soon after, they clicked on the court and led the Lakers to 3 consecutive titles from 2000 to 2002 under head coach Phil Jackson. During that process, Kobe evolved from a youngster to a grown man and wanted to take the leading role, not just in the team, but in the league in general. The tension between Shaq and Kobe grew, and the younger star did not feel that he got the respect he deserved at the time. And things escalated when the Lakers lost to the Detroit Pistons in the 2004 NBA Finals. Now, when things did not go well on the court either, Kobe basically told the Lakers front office, "It's either him or me," and the Lakers decided to trade Shaq to Miami. That didn't sit well with Shaq, and the two became fierce rivals. The hatred between them was evident in the following seasons, and lasted until they both retired. Shaq was the one who first won the championship with another team, but admitted that he was pissed when Kobe won 2 more with the Lakers in 2009 and 2010. Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. Michael Jordan made a lot of noise coming into the NBA in 1984. As a rookie for the Bulls, MJ made the All-Star team, and the veterans were not very pleased with that. During his first All-Star game, Isaiah Thomas ensured that he and the rest of the Eastern Conference roster froze out Jordan, and that MJ would not have many touches with the ball. MJ heard about that, and the rivalry was born. The Pistons and the Bulls collided every year in the playoffs in the late 80s, and Detroit implemented the Jordan rules that got the Bulls out of the playoffs for 3 consecutive years. Finally, in 1991, the Bulls swept the Pistons, and MJ took over the league. It was no secret that Jordan and Thomas hated each other, but it's kind of ridiculous to see that they hate each other even 30 years later. Jordan was blamed that he kept Thomas off of the 1992 Olympic Dream Team, or at least Thomas believes that was the case. In the Last Dance documentary, Jordan called Thomas an asshole, which speaks enough of the relationship between the two. Thomas uses every opportunity to leave Jordan out of the GOAT conversation every time he's asked about it, but it definitely hurts him to see the Pistons wearing uniforms with the Air Jordan logo on them. Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo. The Chris Paul-Rajon Rondo rivalry dates back to their early careers when CP3 was still with the New Orleans Pelicans and Rondo was with the Celtics. They were 2 of the best point guards in the league, also known for their leadership and trash-talking skills. During a regular season game in 2013, the two got into a heated argument that got them both ejected, and Rondo was even suspended for 1 game. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but they could not stand each other ever since. Both players moved around the league, but the hate was always there. Things went wild when Paul was on the Rockets and Rondo on the Lakers, as punches were thrown, and the two needed to be separated. Those incidents may have been fun to watch, but it would have been much better if we'd seen them playing against each other rather than fighting. Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly. Point guard rivalries can be really tough, and we can see that from the Westbrook-Beverly case. In his prime, Westbrook was known as one of the most electrifying point guards in the league, who was tough to stop, and that is exactly what Beverly wanted to do. Beverly made it to the NBA after spending some time in Europe, and he always played with a chip on his shoulder. He is known as one of the best defenders in that position, and often he makes up for the lack of talent with dirty plays. The feud with Westbrook started during the 2013 playoffs when the Thunder faced the Rockets. As Westbrook took the ball over half court, getting ready to call timeout, Beverly tried to steal the ball and went into Westbrook's knee. Russ ended up with a torn meniscus and was forced to miss the rest of the playoffs. It was obvious that it was a dirty move by Beverly, and when they faced each other a couple of years later, he went for it again. The hatred continued in the following years, and it was very interesting to see when the two ended up being teammates on the Lakers team in 2022. Nikola Jokic and Markieff Morris. The conflict between the two came out of nowhere and could have turned into something really nasty. It was just a regular season game during the 2021-22 season in which the Denver Nuggets were dominating the Heat. Miami's forward, Markieff Morris, didn't take that well and gave Jokic a hard foul as the Nuggets center was making his way down the court on a potential fast break opportunity. Morris acted like nothing had happened, but the reigning MVP could not go over it just like that and decided to shove Morris from behind as the Heat veteran was walking away. The incident led to a real mess, with most of the players getting involved. The bad blood spilled outside the court, with Marcus Morris, Markieff's twin brother, calling out Jokic on Twitter for pushing his brother from behind. Jokic's brothers were ready to respond and even created a Twitter account just to notify the Morris twins that they were ready for a fight if necessary. The Serbian brothers were in the stands when the Nuggets visited the Heat, but fortunately, nothing happened. Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. We're used to seeing players from different teams getting into some type of fight, which may take years before solving. But not very often do we know what exactly happens behind closed doors within an organization. Going into the 2022-23 season, a tape from the Golden State Warriors practice facility leaked, showing how Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole in the face. Now, we don't know what exactly happened before, but when Green approached Poole, he shoved him, and the veteran wildly reacted. That got Poole a bruised eye and got Green suspended. The Warriors insisted that Green publicly apologize, which he did, but things were never cool between the two. Obviously, the generational gap and the approach to the game took its toll between Green and Poole. Poole got traded at the end of the season, and we don't want to believe that it had anything to do with the incident, but there have been many cases like this when one of the involved players simply had to go. Kevin Garnett and Kenyon Martin. Coming into the league straight out of high school, Kevin Garnett quickly made a name for himself as one of the biggest trash talkers in the league. He was constantly talking during games, which many players found irritating. A few years after Garnett, Kenyon Martin got into the league and became a real monster in the paint. Martin quickly reached the NBA Finals, which put a target on him in KG's eyes. Both of them were tough competitors, and it was an absolute pleasure watching them go against each other. They didn't back down against anybody, and Garnett was one of Martin's favorite players to go against since KG was an MVP winner and regular All-Star, while Martin often didn't get the respect that he deserved. Even though their battles on the floor never turned ugly, there was obviously a feud. Even after retiring, Martin did not forget that, and he spoke his mind on KG, calling him a miniature chihuahua in a Doberman's body, and a porch puppy. Everybody expected KG to fire back, but he showed maturity and just let it go. Kevin Garnett and Carmelo Anthony. Kenyon Martin is not the only player KG had a problem with. The list is long, but not everyone on that list was ready to fight Garnett. Carmelo Anthony was one of those who stood up for himself, or more precisely, for his wife. In 2013, the Celtics were in Madison Square Garden to take on the Knicks, led by Melo, and as usual, the Knicks versus the Celtics games were all fired up. Garnett and Anthony shoved a couple of times on the court, and then it turned verbal. Apparently, in the exchange, KG told Melo that his wife Lala tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios, which you have to agree is ridiculous to be said by a grown man. KG probably expected to get away with it, as he usually does, but Melo is built different. Anthony thought KG went too far by mentioning his wife, and told KG that he would be waiting for him outside, which he eventually did. The Knicks security staff were aware that things might get out of control and were ready to react. In the end, KG and Melo talked it through and apparently never had problems again. Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher. Things can often get personal between teammates, which we see in this case. Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher were teammates on the Lakers, and it seemed like they were just cool with each other. Barnes was married to Gloria Govan, and while the divorce process was still going on, Gloria was trying to get herself a new baller. Barnes had no problem with that fact, but had a huge problem with how that process was going. Barnes and Gloria have twins together, and they were living with her in Barnes's home. One sunny day, Barnes, as usual, was talking to his sons, and one of them told him that Uncle Derek was there. Barnes realized what was going on, jumped into his car, and got there quickly. Barnes rushed to his house to find his former wife with his teammate, and things got really ugly for Uncle Derek. Tony Parker and Brent Barry. That wasn't the only case when teammates got into a problem over wives. Another scandal happened with the San Antonio Spurs, when they seemed like a basketball family living in harmony under Greg Popovich. It was the beginning of the 2010-11 season. Tony Parker was one of the best point guards in the league, an NBA All-Star, NBA champion, and NBA Finals MVP. A charismatic French guy who married one of the top actresses at the time, Eva Longoria. But this scandal proved that he wasn't such a nice guy. Out of nowhere, reports came that Longoria had filed for divorce after finding out that Parker was cheating on her. Things got even worse when it came out that Parker was having an affair with Erin Barry, the wife of his teammate Brent Barry. Parker and Barry were close friends at the time. Brent even attended the wedding of Eva and Tony, and the couples were celebrating birthdays together. This scandal ruined their relationship, and Parker lost the respect of many teammates. But the Spurs decided to keep him on board and trade Barry.